Hello friends, today in this example I will show you delegating filter proxy in Spring, and to understand this let's first discuss about filter. Whenever we want to create a class which implement this filter interface, we need to import either JavaX Servlet filter or Jakarta Servlet filter. That means our filter is part of our Servlet container and managed by Servlet container. Say in this filter I need to have a object of some service class and I need to autowire it. So if I use autowire annotation in my filter, it won't work because autowired is part of Spring container, whereas filter is part of Servlet container. So whenever we start our server, it first instantiate and loads Servlet container filters, and after that it loads all the beans of Spring in the web context. So to demonstrate this, see my example over here. I am trying to create authentication filter which is implementing our Jakarta Servlet filter interface having a do filter method. Here this authentication filter needs this user service in order to authenticate the user that is coming in the request. But since I am using auto wired over here, as you can see in my authentication filter, and if I enable my breakpoints and try to hit this get API hello. Okay, so as you can see, since I am using auto wired, but still my user service object is not injected in this authentication filter because this auto wired is part of Spring, and whereas this filter is part of our servlet container. So this block will not get executed and I cannot see this sysout in my console log. Now how to solve it? Okay, so to solve it, we will use delegating filter proxy. Delegating filter proxy is a concept in Spring. Okay, so servlet container instead of initializing, if I show you my filter in my web.xml. Okay, so when we define this filter, okay, we are creating the object of our authentication filter class that we just created. But instead of creating the object of this authentication filter class, if I use this tag, let me uncomment it and let me comment below part. Okay, so now instead of creating the authentication filter from class authentication filter that we just created, I will create delegation filter proxy. So I am registering all the URLs that are coming to this filter name authentication filter to go to delegating filter proxy. Okay, so let me start my application. Let me clean and start. Just a second. So in background I am starting this. So this delegating filter proxy is acting as a bridge between servlet container and Spring container. So whenever the request comes to this bridge, to this delegating filter proxy, it first uh, uh, like this filter delegating filter proxy delegate those requests to our Spring beans. Okay, so now if I refresh my page, this time you can see my user service object is injected in this authentication filter because the request first goes to the delegating filter proxy. Uh, when when we are starting the application, we are saying that all the requests should go to delegating filter proxy, and then from there it is going to this Spring Bean authentication filter, and Spring is injecting this user service class in our filter. And hence if I see the output, you can see request first entered authentication filter, then it goes inside this block fetching the user object from the user service, and then it's going to the controller, and then coming back from the controller and printing this line, and then it's going back to the browser. So this is the uh, this is about delegating filter proxy. It's a very useful concept in Spring. Behind the scene, it is using two design principles. One is proxy pattern. Proxy pattern is like whenever a patient calls a hospital, okay, and if that person who is an external entity, if he wants to contact the cardiologist department, he calls the reception, and that receptionist will forward his request to cardiologist department. Or if another patient comes and he wants to contact the orthology department, then this receptionist will forward this request to internal orthology department. So this receptionist in this example is acting as a proxy. Similarly, our delegating filter proxy is acting as a proxy. All the requests that are coming from the browser first goes to this delegating filter proxy, and then it delegate that request to our filter beans, spring beans. So this is the design pattern used behind this concept. And uh, another design principle that is in use is inversion of control dependency injection. And to give you the example of this, if I am hungry and I want to cook the food by myself, prepare the all the food by myself, it will be very tedious for me, and I have to wait, I have to cook, and then I can eat that processed food. Instead of that, if I go to a restaurant and order my meal, restaurant will create or prepare all the food for me, and I just have to eat it. Similarly, if we talk this example in Spring, inversion of control, that means I not need to create all the objects by myself that I need during my application execution. All those objects, I just order that these objects I need in the Servlet, Spring Servlet XML or our configuration file, that all these objects that I need, I not need to create them. The external entity Spring Framework will create all these objects for me, and I just have to use that in my application. This is inversion of control. And dependency injection, as you can see, my authentication filter class is dependent on user service class. So this user service object is injected in authentication filter. So here using autowired, so we are doing dependency injection of user service in authentication filter. So this is dependency injection. We can achieve it either by autowired or via constructor injection. I hope I am able to explain and demo delegating filter proxy to you. If you like this video, kindly subscribe to my channel, and also like this video and share it with your friends. Thank you for supporting. Have a good day.